All right, what is up, everyone? It is Saturday, September 2nd of 2023. We are live with another family education and support group with your host, Param. Good morning to everybody that's hopped on and said good morning already. Who do we got so far? We got Mr. Scott, we got CJ and the Flahertys, we got Marilyn, we got Jess, and by the way, and Mr. Jim. We got people from all over the country already, and I'm grateful for another opportunity to be with you. This is live, so if you're watching this is actually Saturday, September 2nd at 9:15 Pacific Standard Time, 12:15 Eastern Time, and wherever else you fall. It's Labor Day weekend, and it's not looking too Labor Day out here in California. It's a little windy and a little bit of rain, and not sure what's going on there. Oh, we got Cataline back in the house. Welcome back, Cataline. Beta, Kenny and the crew from Pacific Sands, man, it's going to be a good day. Like Scotty said, it's a good day, and I believe it's a good day to have a good day. So a little background information about what this group is, what our intention is, what our purpose is, why we do this. So this happens each and every single Saturday. I would give you a guesstimate of maybe 46 out of the 52 I am here, which is a pretty good ratio if you think about it. That means even on vacations and like when I travel, I still find a way to do this. And what this channel is all about. So if you're watching this wondering, is this worth my return of my investment of my time? If you are someone who firsthand or secondhand has experienced any type of pain in this journey of life, that pain could be a result of, your addiction, someone else's addiction, your mental health challenges, somebody else's mental illness challenges. It could be from traumas you've endured. It could be from grief and loss that you've experienced and you haven't really worked through. Whatever the cause may be, this channel is here to provide you with some support first and foremost, a community of like-minded people that can, support you and understand what you're experiencing, and also education, right? You want to learn about these things. So I do my best to teach about, personal development, mindset, perspective, addictions, communication, self-care, boundaries, rebuilding trust like we did last week, or a little bit of, something in between. So if this is for you, I want you to watch. If it's not for you, send it to somebody that it might be for. And let's just keep going. So Cataline, welcome back from vacation. Jolly June, what's up? Today's a brand new talk. So if you're someone who's been following this channel for the past, 3 years, there are, a significant amount of videos that are found in our database on YouTube or Facebook. You can go watch me ramble in my living room at various stages of length of my hair. And but today's a brand new talk, meaning that the content is something I haven't covered, but it is around a central theme of something we talk about all the time. Okay. So a quick background information about myself is, like I said, my name is Param. I have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy. So family therapy with an emphasis in child development is my degree. I am a licensed addictions counselor, so my specialty and my expertise comes with addictions and addictive behaviors. I am in recovery myself. June 13th of 2008 is the day that I lived one version of life and transformed and lived another version of life, and I've been on that path since, so it's a little bit over 15 years. And I coach high school basketball. Our season is starting on October 12th. We have our tip-off dinner. October 13th, we have our yearbook pictures, and October 19th or 21st, something like that Friday, we have our Midnight Madness, which is our practice at midnight. It's the official start of the season. And that's kind of a little bit about me. So it is interactive. If you can see, like, for example, when Marilyn said, what's up, I can put up her comment. So she's just saying hi there. But if you say, hey, if you want to ask a question, feel free to ask it. I'll respond. If you want me to further elaborate, feel free to. And it's very interactive. I do my best to be responsive to your feedback. So today we're talking about, the title of the talk is called, I should put the title up, 6 Types of Courage. And the central theme that I said that we've done before is this topic of courage. And courage is defined as the ability to take action despite a fear. That's when I know somebody is courageous, that they're experiencing overwhelming psychological and emotional fear, yet despite of that fear, they're willing to take some actions to get to the next stage and start to heal and start to progress, start to improve, and ultimately transform. Every talk I ever do is dedicated to the possibility of human and family transformation. And if I didn't believe that with every fiber of my core, trust me, I would not be sitting here in front of this camera in my living room every Saturday doing these talks. You know, I really don't need to do these talks, but guess what? I really want to. I really want to because I'm hopeful that one day somebody will transform their life experience as a result of these. And if I can do that, man, I feel like my job is done here on this planet Earth. So today we're going to talk about the 6 types of courage. And I'm going to put them up one by one. And the first one is something called physical courage. Okay. And the definition that I have here, and I forgot to say hi to my mom and dad. Let's always give them a shout out, mom and dad. I'm coming to their house today at 5 o'clock to go eat some of mom's homemade food. So I'm really excited about that. So the first one is something called physical courage. And what physical courage is to keep working towards physical goals with resiliency, balance, and awareness. So all of you watching this, I hope to God you have some physical goals for yourself. Now, what could those physical goals mean? Well, it could be that you go to a primary care doctor and he or she assesses you, diagnoses you with certain data and measurements about the internal working of your body, about your cholesterol, about your blood sugar, about your internal organs, about your weight. And he or she says that you need to make some changes with your physical body if you want to be able to thrive in life, if you want to be able to feel healthy in life, if you want to be able to be the best version of yourself, right? Not just for yourself, but for others, for those around you who love you. And it is important to know that it takes courage to address those physical challenges. And here's why. Because if it was easy, everybody would do it. There's so many human beings that have fear about addressing their physical health because they're too comfortable with a certain life. They lack the knowledge, experience. They lack the discipline. They lack the accountability, whatever it is. And if you want to make physical changes in your life, you have to exhibit courage. Take action despite of the fear or what your head tells you can't do or what you're not. And also when it comes to dealing with addictions, mental health, trauma, grief, and loss, it's safe to say that our mind, our immune system, our physical body has been under stress and duress for God knows how long. And if you've been imbalanced, if you've been under extreme amounts of stress, if you don't address your physical health, what do you think is going to happen? Your immune system will be compromised. You will be more susceptible to diseases, susceptible to illness. So when it comes to addressing your physical health, you must approach it with resiliency, to get up despite of what life throws your way, to try again, to move forward. You must have balance. You know, if it took you years to get to a certain stage, it's not going to take you days or months to get out of it. So what people do is they try to go in all in. 0 to 100. I'm going to change my life. 2 weeks goes by. They don't have the psychological and physical and emotional muscles to be able to handle that workload. And they do the exact opposite. They go from 0 or they go from 100 back down to 0. And the very last part of it is with awareness. So the body is constantly giving you signs and signals. For example, earlier this morning, I was doing this talk with our program participants. And, you know, a lot of people in early recovery have a significant problem with caffeine. Right? Like I consume caffeine. I don't know if it's a problem, depending on who you ask, but you know, you can see I'm a little jazzed up right now, but it's because of caffeine. I know it. And, you know, later in the afternoon when I have a little bit of a crash, but I know I have to go do some talks or some sessions or some exercise, maybe I'll redose my caffeine. Right? But for the most part, people that are chronically tired, chronically consume caffeine. And what I want you to get really clear with is this. When you look at a baby that's tired, a little infant that's tired, right? What does the family do? What does the mom do? What does the environment supposed to do? You're supposed to nurture and rock that baby to potentially be able to relax and fall asleep. And that rest gives the baby the energy needed. I mean, I don't know about you, but not many people put a bottle of Red Bull inside of a baby's mouth or put some caffeine in a baby's mouth when it's crying and say, hey, calm down now, or you're going to be able to do the next thing. But adults do it. So that physical stuff is really important. And for example, and this is some courage right here. This is authentic sharing. So Bita, which is a follower of this page and has been with us for years right now, said, hey, I needed to hear this today. And guess what? We all do, Bita. You do, I do. My family does, whoever else is on this always needs to hear this stuff. And your goal is to go to the gym. So, you just got to have some courage, because when the fear comes up of, I got to go to the gym, I haven't been there, I haven't done this, I haven't done that, I'm having some health problems. You have to overcome that fear by taking deliberate, intentional actions. And that's courage. That's courageous. So thank you for sharing that, because guess what? There is someone else, Bita, I promise you, that just watched this video either live or later on that says, hey, that's really cool. This lady just wrote that right now. And maybe I'm going to go do it too. And all of a sudden your courage became contagious. Courage is a contagious characteristic. The more courageous we are, the more it can catch wildfire around us. And then we can make some transformation. Mr. Jake, blast from the past. Thank you for popping up again. Makes sense why the physical makes sense. Even doing push-ups and sit-ups every day has helped me sleep, which has always been an issue. Here's the thing, man. People that have a hard time falling asleep at night, the first thing I always tell them is exhaust yourself in the daytime. If that means you go put your headphones on and go do just walk. Walk until your legs get tired. Do some push-ups, do some sit-ups, do some activity, do some exercise, do some things that are fun for you. Get on a bicycle, ride it, go play pickleball like I do. Whatever it is, exhaust yourself and take a nap and fall asleep and pass out at night. We all identify with dogs and puppies in American culture. I mean, when a dog is super energetic, nobody says, well, I can't go to sleep at night because my dog won't. You know what they tell you to do? Take your dog to the dog park and wear it out. Take your dog somewhere out and just have it go run wild. And then all of a sudden, the dog's so freaking tired by the time it gets home, the energy's gone, ploop, falls asleep. And Mr. MJ, thanks for popping on. So the talk I'm doing today came from a little post that MJ put. Go check out MJ on your Facebook. He's a pretty interesting human being. And I saw some special in him the first time I met him. And he's just like, his smile is contagious. So just looking at his pictures is going to make you smile. But he put this post up and I told him I'm going to steal it and I'm going to use it. So there we are. See, MJ, I didn't lie. So the next one that we have here is something called social courage. And it means to be unapologetically true to yourself in the face of social settings. So we all know that adolescents and teenagers get caught up in something called peer pressure. What is peer pressure? In adolescents, in their environment, and their friends are doing something or saying something that might not sit true to them, but they lack the social courage to say something because they don't want to be judged. They don't want to be perceived as weak or different or an outcast. So they just swallow their authenticity just so they can blend in with the environment. Now, I get when that happens with adolescence. I really do. It's one of the hardest periods of life. But as an adult, in the face of social and society, if you don't stay true to who you really are, then who are you really? If around you, people are doing things, saying things in society that doesn't sit well with you, and you just swallow your authenticity and swallow who and what you are because you don't want to ruffle the feathers or you don't want to be a person that's swimming against the grain, and that moment you lost yourself. And the important part here is to know this, that social courage is something that is learned, is developed, and the more you are yourself in various settings, the more powered you're going to be able to actually accomplish stuff. And I have this analogy that I really love, and it's this, that all of us human beings wear different hats. You might wear a different hat around your friends, or a different hat around your family, or a different hat around your spouse, or a different hat at work, right? We do different roles. We talk a little different. We act a little different. We engage a little differently. But it's important to remember this. All of those hats have to go on the same head. All of those hats, no matter who you are with or where you are at, you must stay true to yourself. If you lose your character and you lose your essence and your being because of the environment, it's not the environment's fault. It's yours. Social courage is something we all got to practice. And, when it comes down to society and all the stigmas they have on mental health and mental illness, if you're around people that are saying things that are derogatory to addicts, or what I call a person experiencing addictions, if you're hearing things that are derogatory to people that are crazy, which I call a human being experiencing challenges with their mental health, if you're around people that society calls weak and soft, what I call is someone that's endured and experienced a lot of pain and trauma in their life, and you don't say something or you don't do something, when you're around people talking negative things about the homeless population, for God's sakes, people that have lost it all, that everyone in their life has given up to them, and people talk to them as if they're trash or dogs, and you don't say nothing, it ain't their fault. You got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, how come I didn't stand up for these human beings? How come in the face of social pressure, I just folded? So social courage is something that's so important. I hope all of you tap into it. There we go. We got a good one here. Hossein said, good morning. Good morning, Hossein. Always a pleasure. Mr. Jim, be yourself. Everyone else is taken. God, I love that quote. There's nothing wrong with being ourselves. And what do we got here? So the next one we have, my friends, is something called moral courage. Oof, we're getting deep today. So moral courage is to do the right thing even when it is uncomfortable or unpopular. Uncomfortable or unpopular. So in order to have moral courage, you must know what your morals are. You must know what your values are. You have to stand for something or you're going to fall for anything. So in today's talk with our program participants this morning, I told them, hey, if you see your peer or roommate, maybe use some substances without the sober living or the treatment center finding out. Maybe they faked the drug test. Maybe they brought in some fake urine so they can pass a drug test, but you know that they're drinking. You know that they're smoking. You know that they're taking pills. You know that they're taking research chemicals. You know that they're getting high on something. And you see that. And you don't say anything because you say, I don't want to be a rat. I don't want to be a snitch. I don't want to be a person that gets my nose in other people's business. I'll tell you this, in that moment, you lost your moral courage, because that human being that might be getting high is somebody's son or daughter that maybe a month ago overdosed inside the mom and dad's house, and ambulance and paramedics had to come and revitalize a dead body in front of the family with Narcan, and the kid just came to breath. Maybe that person is someone that got his kids taken away from them because of their substance abuse. Maybe that's someone that their marriage is on the jeopardy and on the line because of their substance abuse. Maybe that person is somebody that's experiencing significant trauma in their life that they never healed from, and they're just numbing it out with substances. If you don't have moral courage to go say something to someone about that and you're complicit, then I really don't know what we're doing here. And when it comes to families, by the way, sometimes there is a spouse that really, really protects and enables their kid. And sometimes there's another spouse that says, we can't do this anymore. Our kid's going to die. And if that spouse that has that strong belief doesn't say something to the other spouse and wake that person up or set some boundaries or do something, they're just as complicit. And I never wish this on nobody, ever. That somebody's using substances, lethal substances, if someone's using fentanyl, for God's sakes, and you know it, and you don't say, this is wrong, we don't condone this, we're not going to allow this to happen, and something, God forbid, happens to that person, how do you think you sleep at night, knowing that information and the fact that you could have done something about it, right? So the moral part's really, really important. And I always do the next right thing, absolutely. In the early stages, we sometimes don't know what the right thing might be. And that's the beauty of pausing and asking a few people we trust and respect what the right thing is. And sometimes, by the way, people know what the right thing is. Let me just say this. There's family members that I've worked with for years, doesn't even matter what background, what ethnicity, what culture they're from. They've worked for years. They know exactly what they're supposed to do in a situation. And when the situation arises, they act like they've never heard it before. They act like no one's ever told them what to do. They act like it's like a brand new situation. No, it's not. You're just choosing not to accept reality. And I have such strong boundaries when it comes to that stuff. If I said something to somebody 5 or 6 times or 10 times, or I've said something to someone for 1 or 2 years, I don't say it anymore. I've done my part. I've paid my dues. I've shared my experience, my strength, my hope, my knowledge, my expertise. And at some point, that's all you can do. What they do with the information is none of my business. Like I always say, the choice is yours. My hope is you choose the one based on the information you have. And this is a good one right here. Oh, thank you, Sima June. Keep up the good work. I will. And what Jim said here, so snitch, rat, or take courage. It really does. That's a lot of, in the recovery drug communities, people that are using substances, they kind of throw these words around too, right? And because they're street terminology or prison terminology. That's what I told the kids this morning on the talk. I said, for those of you who are afraid of snitching or being a rat, like you're living in a very nice, sober living, going to a very luxurious treatment center. And if you were that type of person that lives by the code and the honor of the street, or you were a prison person, you wouldn't be sitting on a live stream listening to me talk at 8:30 in the morning. You know what I mean? Like you're not a part of the cartel. You're not a part of the Mexican mafia. You're not a part of any type of, syndicate that goes through and smuggles drugs. If you were, you'd be in prison and you're in, treatment with the support of your family. So let's just get rid of those terms. Let's get rid of that stuff and let's start healing. Start focusing on what's important. So the next one we have here is something called emotional courage. And what is emotional courage? So feeling all of your emotions without attachment or guilt. Why is this one courageous? Because through this journey of life, we have been taught, unfortunately, that certain emotions are good and certain emotions are bad. It's bad to be angry. It's good to be happy. It's bad to be afraid. It's good to be feeling at peace. It's bad to be disgusted. It's good to be kind of accepting all that kind of stuff, whatever the positives are. We've been spoon-fed that lie. But you know what the research and the data says? That we cannot selectively pick and choose what emotions we get to experience. So if you suppress your anger and your fear, and you avoid your anger and your fear, by default, you will be unable to experience joy and peace and contentment. You can't pick the good ones and avoid the bad ones. You got to experience all of them. And it says to do it without attachment. So what does that mean? Listen to this phrase. You are not your feelings. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are a human being having thoughts, experiencing feelings, and having emotions. The same way that Monday morning feels different than Friday afternoon is the same way that feelings pass, emotions pass. If you attach to them, then you are unable to be free. You are fully consumed. It will guide your actions, oftentimes in a negative way. So feel your feelings. Feel your emotions. Don't numb them. Don't suppress them. Don't hide from them. Don't minimize them. Feel them fully. Own them and observe them and let them go. And if you think it's not that easy, just sit in your emotions for a couple days and see what happens. And if you can't do it on your own, grab a pen and paper and write, pick up the phone and call somebody, go on a little nice walk, do a little self-care. And I promise you this, the way you feel 48 hours later is going to be different than the way you felt before all that. Emotions are not as scary as they are when we're children. When you become an adult, you can actually handle things differently, right? If you give a kid that's 5 years old a budgeting sheet and say, here, kid, I want you to budget out an entire month's worth of expenses and costs and all that kind of stuff on a spreadsheet, the kid's going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. You give it to an adult, they might not know how to do it, but they'll figure it out. Emotions are the same way. A kid really has a hard time experiencing some heavy emotions. But as an adult, we might not be good at it, but we can figure it out. And if you can't figure it out on your own, reach out to people. Let's see. I've experienced moral courage. I had to turn someone into adult protective services. It was the best thing that I ever did for that person. And this is obviously we're talking. So clinicians have a code of conduct and a duty to report, a duty to warn. And what a duty to report is if you're with a therapist or you're working with a clinician, in a case like this, if someone tells me that they have experienced any type of abuse, or they've abused somebody, and the somebody is usually a child or an elderly, adult protective, someone above the age, I think it probably these days it's either 60 or 65. Or somebody says, hey, I really want to harm myself or kill myself, and they actually have the intention and the means and the way to do it. Or somebody says, hey, Parm, I'm going to leave this place and go kill Joe over there, and I'm going to do it with this, and I'm going to do it at this time, and this is how I'm going to do it. We can actually breach confidentiality. In this case, reached out to the governing agency that protects the elderly or adult protective services from getting abused, neglected, violated, whether it's with finances or with physicality or emotions. And it's the best thing that was ever happened for this person. So thank you for practicing your professional duty and also your moral courage to do so. I've made some calls to Child Protective Services. I've made some reports to Child Protective Services. The disabled population is also protected, so if there's any abuse to them. But yeah, it's what we're supposed to do. It's what we're supposed to do. Mandated reporters. I work at the high school too, so I have it from like every direction. The next one we have here is something called intellectual courage. I like this one. Intellectual courage says to learn, unlearn, and relearn with a flexible mind. Oh, if we're going through this journey of life with any hope or intention to be able to grow, adapt, evolve, transform, we must have intellectual courage. If all of the information that you're running on, all the thoughts, ideas, beliefs you have are things that happen in one point of your life, and you stay so rigid and unflexible that today you have the same exact ideas, beliefs, thoughts, all that kind of stuff. And even worse, you say that 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, I'm still going to have all that kind of stuff. Ooh, I really worry for you. You're going to feel really disconnected from society because we always got to evolve. And it's important to remember this, that learned behavior is what we experience in life and what we're exposed to in life. We learn things that get downloaded onto us. But anything that can be learned in life can be unlearned. And then when it's unlearned, it creates a canvas, an opening, a space for us to be able to learn a new experience, a new way of life, a new way of being. And in that is where transformation exists. That's where transformation is possible. If you have learned things in life, you can unlearn them, you can relearn them, and you can transform. But what's the key to all that? You got to have an open mind. Without an open mind, you'll never be able to unlearn the things that you probably desperately need to unlearn. And you'll never be able to learn the things that you probably desperately need to learn. So the open mind is the key to that intellectual courage. Sometimes people come from dysfunctional homes, which I know a lot of our audience comes from, and the family members come from dysfunctional homes, dysfunctional societies. What does that do to somebody? It teaches you so many things that are wrong. Like if you come from a really chaotic house with a mom and dad that's just like, explosive and abusive, and then later on you're like, well, that's where I learned what a relationship looks like. Those were my models. Those were my examples. That's where I learned it. And later on, that person goes on in their own life and they get in a relationship with someone that's toxic or abusive or explosive. And then, they're sitting back and saying, well, I don't know any different. That's what was taught to me. That's what I re-experienced, because human beings tend to repeat things that are familiar to them. There's a sense of comfort in it. But here's the thing. I'm not going to give that person a pass. The first time I will, because they don't know any different. But once you know better, that you can reprogram yourself and unlearn and relearn in a healthy way, what's the excuse? You got to go do the work. You got to heal from those wounds of the past. You got to make a commitment of who and what you are, and who and what you want to be with, and what you want to experience in life. Let's see what we got here. So that was the mandated reporting we were talking about. If you're working with human beings, in a clinical therapeutic sense, or with children in school, there's something called mandated reporting. So that's kind of what we were talking about there. Too often we hold on to information that is no longer accurate information. The fear of the void of the transition keeps us stuck. Yes, we're talking about courage. So you can't talk about courage without fear, because what is courage? The ability to take action despite of fear. And our intellectual courage kicks in exactly with what Eileen just said right here. Exactly. And I don't know why people are so afraid of letting go of what they know, as if what they know is like the absolute truth. I'll tell you this, everything that you know is just based on the experiences that you've had and what you've exposed yourself to. If you think that you know it all, my friends, are you going to be in for a rude awakening? The day I feel like I know it all is the day that I need you to come probably drug test me, you know? It's hard to tell that to adolescents. Like if I tell a 19-year-old, yo kid, you have no idea what you're talking about. He's going to be like, yeah, I do. Just watch me. He actually doesn't have any idea what he's talking about. But that's where he or she is in that stage of their life. And we got to meet people where they're at and understand that that kid's got a little bit more journey of life to go. But if you're like an adult, grown person, and you have an established world and you think that you figured it all out, just wait till life gives you a spoonful of surprise. And I hope you remain open-minded. Biggest challenge, I think she's talking about intellectual courage, learn, unlearn, relearn, and a flexible mind. If that's what you're talking about, Kathleen, I want you to know that you've already exhibited intellectual courage, because when you come into recovery as somebody that is, intelligent, has some degrees, has a specific type of a work duty, job duty, knowledge base that they have, and they kind of know it all in that space, it's really easy for them to come into recovery and be too smart for the recovery process. To say, I already know all these things. What am I going to learn from these people? Don't you know what I do? Don't you know the schooling I've had? Don't you know the journey I've had in life, the challenges I've gone through? I've learned so much in life. You have nothing to teach me. You never did that. So you demonstrated and exhibited intellectual courage. So maybe it's your biggest challenge in life, but I do want to tell you, because I know you firsthand, that you've been able to overcome that challenge in certain areas. So if you're able to do it, you're able to do it. And it might still be tough for you, but that's okay. Most good things in life that are worth it are difficult. Courage. Drug court took all I had to complete. Courage to finish a commitment. I know a lot about drug court. Most people don't. Jim's been sober for a long time. And his pathway to recovery wasn't like, I just want to go stop using drugs now. Or my family's telling me they don't want me to use anymore, so I'm just going to go do it for them or anything like that. If Jim didn't get the following presented to him, prison or drug court, the odds of him choosing the path of recovery or sobriety or all that kind of stuff was slim to none the way he was living his life. So prison or drug court. So he chose drug court. And this is something that's offered in probably a lot of states now, but California has drug court, DUI court, mental health court, and it's an alternative sentencing to prison. And you might think, well, they get off easy. Oh my goodness. There's so many people that are in drug court that someday go up to their probation officer and they say, or their case manager, and they say, you know what? This drug court stuff's too difficult, man. I'm going to go do the time. And if you're thinking that's crazy, trust me, it happens all the time, because they make it so difficult for you to start and finish drug court. But guess what? If you start it, and there might be some times you fall down or fumble and, just something against your own will, even, you're a minute late to something and they push you back to the beginning of the phase, whatever it is. If you go through the whole process, which takes longer than they say, but you go through the process, at the end of it, all of a sudden it becomes a courageous action despite of fear, that not only allows the person to build a foundation for the recovery, but it also provides you access to have physical courage, social courage, moral courage, emotional courage, intellectual courage, all as a byproduct of that program. So that's, shout out to the gyms of the world that have done that. I know a few, and it's not easy, my friends. And the very last one that I have is something called spiritual courage. This is my favorite one to talk about, I think. And spiritual courage says living with purpose and meaning through a heart-centered approach towards all of life and oneself. So, sounds pretty good, right? What does it mean? What is a heart-centered approach? So, there's different ways you can approach this thing called life. And you can approach it through the lens of your eyes. And you can look at life and look at people, Or you can approach it through the lens of your ears, and you can hear life and hear people. Or you can approach it from the lens of your thoughts, what you think about people, what you think about life. Well, when we examine life through our eyes, through our ears, through our thoughts, oftentimes we see a lot of the differences. We see that type of people look different than this type of people. Those people have different beliefs than these people. Those people sound different than these people. Those people think differently than these people. So when you go through those basic senses, what happens is you can catch yourself getting caught up in a lot of the differences. And in that moment, you're disconnected. So a heart-centered approach to life says, I'm going to put away all of the differences, and I'm going to focus on the things of all humanity that's similar, that's the same. That no matter what culture, race, ethnicity, socioeconomic background, no matter what differences we have, there are similarities in all human beings if we choose to view it from a heart-centered approach. I promise you this, I'm not exaggerating. I can be in a room with someone that has completely different ideologies as me, completely different beliefs as me, thoughts as me, but I can connect to him at the level of heart that none of those differences mean anything. Now, do I have to agree with that person? Do I have to argue with that person? Hell no. Because here's the thing. If I go and have a conversation with somebody that has completely different beliefs than I do, and I tell that person that, hey, you're wrong and I'm right. Now, what the heck is the difference between that person telling me that I'm wrong and he's right? There is no difference. So I just avoid that at all costs, and I look for the similarities in people. And I promise you, I can find similarities in any human being because we all have certain universal characteristics that exist in all humanity. In the Americas, in Europe, in Africa, in Asia, the Australia, the North and South Pole, there are certain characteristics that all human beings have that are universal. You know what those are. I don't have to teach you those things. And if you say, you know what, I have nothing in common with those group of people, it's because you're looking at the differences. You're not going from a heart-centered approach. You're going through a thought-centered or eye-centered or ear-centered approach. So I really challenge you to have commitment and have courage when it comes to your spiritual lens that you view the world. So, and there you go. That's it right there. Eileen, you just nailed off some of the characteristics, regardless of what you believe in life, where you're from, who you are, what your background is, what your bank account says you got. That's it right there. We all want to be safe. We all want to be loved. We all want to be secure. You know, I do believe that that's very universal. And thank you. Real good talk today. You're welcome, Jim. So in conclusion, today we talked about 6 types of courage that was inspired by Mr. M.J. Wilson's post. And it said physical courage, social courage, moral courage, emotional courage, intellectual courage, and spiritual courage. So go back, listen to it again, pass it off to some friends, tell them to watch this every Saturday. And I'll be here same time, same place. If you're in Orange County, every Tuesday from 6:30 to 8 p.m., we got a family education support group that's always free of charge. I facilitate it myself personally. There's a lot of diversity in the room. And there's a lot of very, very good support, and it's rooted in love and recovery. Everybody in that room feels safe. Everybody in that room feels loved, and everybody in that room feels supported. So love and appreciate all of you. And Scotty, thank you for popping up, man. Good stuff. I expect to see you here every week, my dude. You guys all have a good weekend. I'll see you guys soon. Take care, guys.